सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां दयाकरं दयाकारं दान्तं धर्मप्रवर्तकं प्रणमामि दयानन्दं मदाचार्यपरम्परम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च। The Karya Karana Prakriya, which is being deployed here, that Akashadi Karya, which is in the form of Indriya, is what is separate from the Karana, which is Atma. Because of so many reasons, Jadatvat, one is Jada, another is Chetana, one is what? The changeless, the other is changing, and one is what was the third thing we talked about? One is changeless, the other is Atma is changeless, Indriyas are changing, and Indriyas are Karya, Atma is Karana, and then one more Prithakvam. No, that we saw. Yeah, one is Jada, one is Jada. Udaya Astamaya Bhava we saw. One is changing, the other is changeless. So then this is only half the Karya Karana Prakriya. The other half is there in uniting that which was separated. Because we have a danger. We think now Atma is separate from Indriyas. So the Indriyas are functioning on their own. Atma is somewhere else. And that somewhere else, how to know this Atma that is somewhere else? No. The Karana inheres in the Karya, but the Karya does not inhere the Karana. You go back to this, what is here? So, the clay, so the pot is what? All clay, nothing but clay. Even the smell of the pot belongs to what? Clay. Weight of the pot belongs to clay. Color of the pot belongs to clay. Only what is pot? Only the shape. That's all is the pot. Shape and function. Shape, form, function. That's all it is the pot. There is no other thing. Now, the whole pot is nothing but clay, but clay is not pot. So now, in this pot example, pot is Karya, clay is Karana. So now, this Karya Karana Prakriya involves two operations, this methodology. The first operation is to separate the Karya from the Karana, and this is done how? By saying that clay is not pot. Karana is Karana. Clay is clay. Pot is what? Clay. That is the second operation. Pot is clay is the second operation. The first operation is to delineate the Karana and separate it from the Karya to see that there is no mix-up. Because there is a mix-up, this has to be done. So, operation number 1 of the pedagogy called Karya Karana Prakriya is to separate the Karana from all the Karyas, because the Karyas, because they are finite, they are Jada, they have come from Karana alone, they are Mithya, so they are separate. Operation number 1. Operation number 2 is to see, so now first we know clay is clay, clay is not pot. But then pot is what? Clay. So the clay is in and through the world of earthenware, it It is the cause of the world of earthenware, and the world of earthenware is not separate from clay. This is the second operation. So the second operation is that the Karana inheres the Karya. The Karana can, and so that means what? The Karya is non-separate from the Karana. Then finally we say the Karya is Mithya, all that is there is Karana. But then from which that Vastu, then we can even go further. This is just the Karya Karana methodology. Then we go further and say that Vastu upon which, if see Karya is non-separate from Karana, that means what? They are all one. So, but one appears like Karana, one appears like Karya. Why? Because the Karanatvam is a superimposition upon that clay which is free of being cause. How do you know clay is free of being cause? Because you meet it on the road, there is a lump of clay by itself. It is neither pot, nor is it lid, nor is it jar, nothing it is, it simply is itself. And so, the Karana is, the Karana is, and then the Karya is not, Karana still is. So, Karyatvam is a superimposition upon that very Vastu free of Karyatvam. So, effectness, effecthood is an as though superimposition upon that clay which is pothood, potness is a superimposition upon that clay which is free of being effect. And then Karanatvam, causality, is also an as though superimposition upon that clay which is free of being cause. So what is clay in relation to the pot? Free of being both effect and cause. Then only it can inhere the effect. So finally we come to the understanding that it is neither effect nor is it cause. To explain the Jagat, we have to have this cause-effect prakriya, because that is what is seen, that is what is understood, and then this is what we have to do. So now, knowing this, we will revisit some older verses that we have already studied in first Valli, third section, I think 10, 11 mantras. As soon as you hear it, you will understand. Indriyebhyah param manah manasah sattvam sattvadadhi mahanatma mahatah avyaktam uttamam avyaktat parah purushah vyapako alinga evacha vyapako linga evacha yam jnatva muchyate jantuhu amritatvancha gacchati. So these two clinch this whole thing that we saw in the first line. The cause of sorrow is the mix-up between Atma and Anatma. We saw that. And what else is the cause of sorrow? The cause of sorrow is resistance to change. And why is there resistance to change? Because I don't know. I am the one that I am seeking. I am the changeless I that I am seeking. Not knowing this, there is resistance to change. And so therefore, therefore this mantra really clinched it. But however, the Karya Karana Prakriya is still incomplete. And then introducing this mantra, Adi Shankara cautions, Yasmadatmanah Indriyanam Prithak Bhavah Uktah Na Asau Bahihi Adhigantavyah Yasmad Pratyagatma Sah Sarvasya Tatkatham iti uchyate. So Yasmat, because the Atma was talked about as separate from the sense organs, where in the previous mantra. Yasmat, it was already talked about as Uktaha, separate from the Indriyas. Even though it was talked about like that, However, Adi Shankara cautions what? Na bahihi asau atma adhigantavyah. Asau is Atma here. So, na Atma, na asau Atma, this Atma, na adhigantavyah. Na adhigantavyah must not be known as what? Bahihi iti, outside of the what? The sense organs. Somewhere hanging somewhere. Because sense organs separate from Atma, mind separate from Atma. Atma is somewhere by itself. Don't make that mistake. Because if you make that mistake, Atma will permanently be a remote cause sitting somewhere, paroksha cause, and then the effect is what? Indriyas, and so this will not work. Because this separation is the cause of samsara. Separation from Atma is the cause of samsara. So then if you say, here it said, dhiraha matva shokam adhigacchati, whatever it said, na shochati, I still have shoka. You still have shoka. Why? It's not enough to know myself as the changeless one. And when that myself is not there in the indriyas, then what is there in the indriyas? What is that I? So, for that changeless self, the truth of that changeless self should be the one self of all. Either on the macro level or on the micro level with regard to this body, mind, sense complex. Macro level it is called Brahma, Jagat Karanam. Micro level it is called Pratyagatma, because it is Pratyaktamah. It is innermost. So this Pratyaktamam Brahma, which obtains as Atma, where? Within the body, mind, sense complex. And here the senses are highlighted. And this mantra we have already seen. How was it before? Indriyebhyah parahi arthaha arthebhyascha param manah manasastu para buddhihi buddheratma mahan parah mahatah param avyaktam avyaktat purushah parah purushatma paran kinchit sa kashtha sa paragatihi. Similar here, but with a different intention. Otherwise we will just say, why is Shruti repeating it? There, what was it? It was at the end of the Ratha Kalpana, and that this Pratyagatma, what I know to be the I, who is the truth, the content of the Ratha Swami, there it was having a different purpose to know that this Atma is the Atma of all. Here, that is also the purpose is there, but another purpose, Panchakosha Viveka. That is the purpose here. Panchakosha Viveka, how Pratyagatmataya, starting with oneself, so it's a strategic negation. And we will see how it is a strategic negation, because total negation leads to what? A big headache, dissociation. And we have seen such kinds of Vedantins, like nothing is there, nobody is there, I am only there, this kind of a thing. And so this leads to mental problems, this dissociation, because already one is dissociated. So dissociation upon dissociation is not the remedy for dissociation. So here this is a very grounded understanding. It never takes you away from the body, mind, sense complex and makes you feel like, okay, I am out there somewhere, I have to be this. It makes you, shifts your understanding of the body, mind, sense complex to be the self of you and the self of all. The self of all who have bodies, minds, senses, the same Atma is there. This is what it's going to illustrate. And so the meaning is very simple, because in this argument three things matter. What is that? The contrast between Sukshma, one is Sukshmatvat, Mahatvat and Pratyagatmatvat. So Sukshma, Mahat, Sukshma means what? Subtle. And then Mahat means bigger. Bigger how? In terms of Vyapana, in terms of pervasiveness. And then what's the other one? Inner, interior. So that which is superior here has three qualities, so to speak. What are the three attributes or qualities? That one is, that which is superior is subtler than the previous one, And then that which is superior is greater than the greater means in terms of pervasiveness. So that which is superior is subtler, and that which is superior is more pervasive, and then that which is superior is also more interior. These three things are going to take us down this prakriya of Panchakosha. So this is Panchakosha Prakriya Garbhita Karyakarana Prakriya. So the Karyakarana Prakriya, which has a cameo show, a special appearance, guest appearance of Panchakosha Prakriya. So Indriyebhyaha, what does it say? Manaha Param. Indriyebhyaha, in comparison to the sense organs, the mind is superior. Why? Apply those three criteria. Subtler, yes, check. And then more pervasive, yes. How do we say the mind is more pervasive than the sense organs? Because the sense organs can only do one job each. Hearing, only hearing. Seeing, only seeing. But the mind controls all of them, so more pervasive, more subtle, because at least the indriyas, you can take a photo and send. This is my right ear. You can take a selfie, okay, and send. Can you send a photo of your mind? No. More subtle. And more quote unquote interior, because paranchikhani, these are all exterior. And supposing there was somebody there having a little placard, mind, that would be on the same plane, but it is not. The mind is more subtle. The mind pervades the indriyas. Indriyas do not pervade the mind. Why? Because it is more sukshma. And what was the next one? And that which is more sukshma is more pervasive and more inner from the standpoint of going into this journey of this body-mind-sense complex. A very subtle journey. So the indriyas here are what? The Annamaya Kosha we can take, and then because they are gross, and then what is that? Or Indriyas Pranamaya Kosha, Annamaya Pranamaya. Annamaya is not discussed separately. So Annamaya Pranamaya Indriyas, and then Manomaya Kosha is, what is that? Manaha. So here in each of these there is a micro standpoint and a macro standpoint. So in the Kosha Viveka, in the Panchakosha Viveka, so you have your mind, and then there is the mind of all. You have your buddhi, and then there is the buddhi of all, samashti. Vyashti and samashti both go together, because if we only discuss vyashti, again there is dissociation. Here it is shown that the same patterns are there everywhere at the individual and the collective level. So reading further, manasaha, so the mind is also not what? The boss. There is another kosha, another place where the mistake of the mind as I, buddhi as I is made. And what is that kosha? Vijnanamaya kosha, where kartritva buddhi is there. I am the karta, I am the agent. Vijnanai yajnantanute karmani tanute picha. Tanute means karoti. So, Vijnanam, what is Vijnanam? Vijnanam is karta. Buddhi is the place where kartritvam is recognized. And so, the boss of the mind is the buddhi. Why? Apply the three criteria again. Sukshmatvat, mahatvat, pratyaktvat. Because it is pratyak. So, inner, it's more interior, and then more subtle, and then what else? More pervasive. These three things, buddhi. Why? Buddhi is much more subtle than the mind. The mind controls only the sense organs, the buddhi controls so many other things. And the buddhi is what? Is makes you decide where to go in terms of your life, what things to achieve. Buddhi decides. Manaha does not decide. If Manaha decides, you will keep changing your mind. Yeah, Buddhi decides which goal to pursue, where to go now. And otherwise, you will keep changing your mind. If the Manaha decides, you will be a very restless person. Buddhi decides. Buddhi has to come and decide. So the Buddhi is superior to the mind in all these three criteria when these three criteria are applied. And then what? So sattva is buddhi here. Manasaha sattvam uttamam. Sattvad adhi means above the buddhi is what? Mahan Atma. Mahan Atma means what? The Mahat. Mahat is Samashti Buddhi is called Mahat, and Samashti Vijnanamayaha Mahan Atma. So beyond the Vyashti of the intellect, one's own intellect, the Samashti intellect, what is that? Hiranya Garbha or Virat. We can take it as Virat also. And then or Hiranyagarbha is better because Sukshmatvat. So Hiranyagarbha is the buddhi of all. So the buddhi of all is the Sukshma Sharira, Samashti Sukshma Sharira Avachinna Chaitanya is called Hiranyagarbha. And so it is all knowledge. It is the ruler of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and therefore it is superior to the tiny buddhi that somebody has, where you can barely remember what one had for breakfast. So that compared to that buddhi, the Samashti buddhi, that out of which this whole Jagat has come, imagine how much more it is, how much bigger it is, and how much that pervades, the Hiranyagarbha pervades my little tiny pea brain, my little buddhi. And then it is more pervasive, it is greater, it is more also finally, it is interior. Interior means what? That every buddhi is touched by this Hiranyagarbha. There is no buddhi that the Hiranyagarbha includes. And where is this Hiranyagarbha? It is not somewhere out there. It is intimately connected to my buddhi. It is in fact my buddhi is just another manifestation of the various manifestations of the Hiranyagarbha. My buddhi is included in Hiranyagarbha. So therefore it is interior. And usually interior means what? Interior means it is the intellect of all. It is intellect of all. And also, Samashti, when we are talking of Samashti, total, it's always more pervasive than Vyashti. Samashti means it is much more pervasive. And then why should we deal with the total? Why not stop at the individual? If you stop at the individual, what you will get? A big headache. Because then you will say, I am separate from the total. Because that's where it will be. It will be like stopping at, what is that called? Tvam pada vichara. Just an analysis of the word I. And then what will that take you to? Okay, I am Sakshi. Then you will be stuck at Sakshi. The truth of this Sakshi is the one that is this Atma, and that Sakshi is not, that which is seen, that which is witnessed is not separate from the witness, has to be understood. That's why the Samashti has to be brought in every Upanishad, because if the Upanishad deals only with the individual, then we will just we'll just have half knowledge. We will arrive at an understanding that is only partial in nature. And so, therefore, to avoid this problem, we go from Vyashti to Samashti in every level. Whether we are talking of the sense organs, whether we are talking of the mind and buddhi, here all three together. Sense organs, mind and buddhi, this is all Sukshma Sharira. And who controls the Sukshma Sharira? Hiranyagarbha. That's why we have to go from Vyashti to Samashti, otherwise it is not proper at all. So, therefore, then beyond Hiranyagarbha is what? Avyakta. So, Avyakta. What is Avyakta? Avyakta, Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha. Avyakta is Anandamaya Kosha or Samashti Karana Sharira. So, Annamaya is equal to Virat. Samashti Sthula Sharira. Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. What are we talking about? Samashti Sukshma Sharira. And then Anandamaya, Samashti Karana Sharira. What is Karana Sharira? Casual body. Causal body. What is causal body? Ignorance. Ignorance is causal body, and if that ignorance is what? So my causal body is ignorance, and then the causal body of Ishvara is Maya Shakti, Ananda, all Shakti, and no sorrow. That is how Vyashti and Samashti we say. So Samashti Anandamaya, so Samashti Anandamaya is what? Ishvara. Maya Shakti Yukta Ishvara is Anandamaya Kosha. Manifests as Anandamaya Kosha, because in every Ananda what is there? Presence of Ishvara is there. Otherwise one cannot be happy. Even for a tiny little second one cannot be happy. And so therefore the very beautiful thing is there. So this Ishvara is what comes after Hiranyagarbha. Ishvara means what? The latent. It's not Ishvara as manifest. Ishvara as latent. Latent along with Avyakta Maya Shakti, that Ishvara is latent, the one that we contact in sleep, that Ishvara, the one that you become one with in sleep, because sleep is an experience of Ananda, Anandamaya. Yeah, so it depicts Anandamaya. And then further it says, next one, Avyaktat tu paraha purushaha. Now, more superior to the Samashti Karana Sharira in the form of Ishvara. Samashti Karana Sharira, Ishvara. Oh, so Ishvara is, so Karana Sharira is Ajnanam, and then Ishvara is what? Big Ajnanam, Samashti Karana Sharira. Everybody is Ajnanam together. No, no. The Ajnanam is Maya, that is Avachinna Chaitanya. The individual is wrapped in a blanket of Ajnanam, the Ajnana aspect of Maya, and the Ishvara is wrapped in a blanket of all knowledge, all power, all Shakti, everything, all Samarthya. So that is the difference. So what do we have to do? To know oneself as Ishvara, remove the blanket. Same Atma, as though covered by Ajnanam, the individual causal body, and then Ishvara covered by Ananda, the total causal body. Ananda is because of Jnanam, limitless, all knowledge. So then, normally we would think there is nothing beyond Ishvara. Agreed? Say yes, so we can at least move on. Yes. But here it says, no. Avyaktat Purushah Paraha. Who is this Purusha? Well, suddenly I thought Ishvara is this thing. Now Ishvara is Purusha, then what is Avyakta? Then what we have to see here is a very important thing. This Purusha is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is superior to Ishvara, superior in the sense of that it is pervasive, more interior. The truth of Ishvara is what? Satyam, yourself true, but what are you? Satyam Jnanam Anantam, Satchit Ananda. Satchidananda is the truth of Ishvara. What is the truth of Jiva? Satchidananda. This is how the Mahavakya is unfolded. So here, Avyakta also has one boss. I thought, oh, there is no boss for Ishvara. Boss here means the truth of Ishvara, which is more pervasive. How is it more pervasive? Because it pervades Ishvara and Jiva. That's why it is more pervasive. Satyam Jnanam Anantam, this Atma pervades Ishvara and pervades the Jiva. That's why it is more pervasive. That's why it is more superior. That's why it is innermost, because I know I am Satchidatma, Satchidananda Atma. So therefore, Avyaktat Purushah Paraha. Who is this Purusha? Vyapakaha. That which pervades the entire universe of names and forms except me. Correct? No, even me. Starting with this body, mind, sense complex that I call me, everything it pervades. If I leave myself out, what will happen? Dashamaha. Yes. Nashto Dashamaha. The 10th fellow has been destroyed. Because why? We went as a group of 10, and then what? Only 9 are coming back. Yeah. That's all. So this is the problem. And then, so Vyapakaha, Sarva Vyapinam, Atmanam, Matva na shochati. So Vyapakaha, it covers, it pervades. It pervades Ishvara. It is the truth of that which we call Ishvara. Ishvaratvam is a superimposition upon this Purusha. Jivatvam is a superimposition, as it were, upon this Purusha. And what is this Purusha? Free of Jivatvam, Jivaness, free of Ishvaraness. And the intervening factor between Jiva and Ishvara is what? Atma Ajnanam, aka Maya. So what does this Maya do? She takes measurements. She is a seamstress. Why is she called seamstress? Because she causes a lot of stress. Okay? Yeah. She is the seamstress, and she goes measuring. Measures Ishvara, measures the Jiva, and then custom designs their outfits. And the outfit that you wear, not what you wear here at the ashram, okay, this is nothing. The kind of outfit that you wear to make a statement. This is me. And that kind of an outfit. She is that kind of a couture, custom seamstress. So she asks Ishvara, what is your, where is your pizzazz? What defines you? Oh, I am Ananda, and I am the ruler of everything. Everything has come from me, resides in me, and then I am the resolver of everything too. Okay. She has a pencil behind the ear, and she writes in a little notebook. Yeah. Even today, all the tailors will write in a notebook. Yeah. And then all the measurements, even though there are computers, everything, phones are there, they will still write in a little notebook. And then when you give them the cloth, they will clip that note onto the cloth to show that it is yours. So that's what she does. She staples the measurements and the little, what defines Ishvara? What would you like to look like? Grand, he says. She says, okay, done. And so she clips that and puts it aside. And then Jiva says, why not me? How come I am not getting an outfit? I also want clothes. Okay, what are you? Victim, sad, burden, so much I have to do during the day. No other ashram has 6 classes. Yeah. And they say this is all for moksha. I don't know when I'll see moksha. Haven't even had mocha. Haven't gone to Starbucks also. Maya says, you do sure complain a lot. What do you mean I complain a lot? I don't complain a lot. Oh, and you're defensive too. Maya is taking notes. Yeah. Come back in 1 week. Dresses are ready. For Ishvara, a grand cloak which has golden letters embroidered. What? Ruler of the universe. Overlord, Ishvara. And then there are galaxies. The galaxies are hanging, the shining, spinning galaxies are the border of this cloak. Fantastic, very nice. Ishvara is very pleased. Wears that cloak. Where my Jiva goes. Yeah. How come that one was ready first? What's about me? Yeah, yours was ready even before. Here, take. Wears it. Very happy. A patchwork of confusion. Yeah. Like a jester's, a joker's quilt. Yeah. All non-matching patchwork. Upside down priorities. And then Ishvara has a border. Where is my border? Your border is full of tears. Teardrops are the borders, constantly crying. And the cloak is slightly wet, always, damp feeling. This is the Jiva's cloak. In fact, it is Brahman's cloak. Wearing the first cloak, Brahman is called Ishvara. Wearing the second cloak, Brahman is called Jiva. Yeah. Crying, complaining, nonsensical fellow. That is the product of what? Maya Shakti. This is what has to be properly understood. And so therefore, what is this Purusha? Brahman. Nirgunam Brahma. Vyapakaha. All pervasive. Pervades Jivatvam. Pervades Ishvaratvam. Ishvaratvam is Mithya. Jivatvam is Mithya. The only thing that is not Mithya is Tvam. You are not Mithya. Because that you is Ishvara. One with Ishvara. Jivatvam, Jivahood is Mithya, Ishvarahood is Mithya, and I like the word hood because there is such a thing called hoodie. Yeah. So Brahman wearing the Ishvara hoodie is Ishvara, Brahman wearing Jiva hoodie is Jiva. That is all it is. The separation is not there at all. Take off the t-shirt, take off the outfit. And all these saints, the poet saints, Mirabai, Kabir, all these saints sing of these things. Sing of taking off this cloak of Maya. Take off this, cast aside this cloak of Maya. What you will find is just Ananda, nothing else. You will find you are Ishvara. And whatever you take to be real, then that becomes, the cloak becomes stitched on to you. It's no longer a cloak. What does it become? Your nature. But it is not your nature. That's the mistake one makes and thinks that it is one's nature. So these two verses, Mahavakya. So Vyapakaha Alinga Evacha. Alingaha means that which has lingyate anena iti lingaha. Alingaha means that which has no sign, no attributes. Vyapako alinga e vyapakaha, vyapako linga evasaha. And then what else? Yam jnatva, atmatvena jnatva, ahamiti jnatva, the one who knows it as I. Then what happens? Sarve jantuhu, all the creatures muchyate. Muchyate are freed from what? This cloak, this mithya cloak, everybody is freed from. Amritatvam adhigacchati. Amritatvam adhigacchati means what? From creature I become creator. I know I am non-separate from creator. So if you spell the word creature, spell the word creator, little difference is there, that's all. And then just is in the spellings. So similarly between Jiva and Ishvara, a few letters are there. What is that? Ajnanam, that's all. Those few letters, then Ajnanam, you take away the A, and then what do you have? Jnanam. That is the negation is the complaining Jiva who negates each and everything, who negates each and every aspect of life, who says no from the beginning, from age 2 to 92, keeps on saying no, 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 no to everything, including the teaching. And so here is this strategic negation. Do you understand what has happened in these two verses? So first we go from Vyashti to Samashti, removing the errors in between, like Annamaya, Pranamaya and Manomaya are taken together, and the Upalakshana for that is what? Indriya and Manaha. So this Indriya is superior to the body, of course, and then because Prana is more pervasive and more, more interior, because Prana bathes all the Indriyas. So it is more superior, more interior, more pervasive, and more, subtler, more pervasive, and because it is subtler. So then This being the case, after this what happened? Then we have manaha, and then the manaha controls all the indriyas. It is more interior, more pervasive and more subtle. Then after manaha what comes? Buddhi. Buddhi, more interior, more pervasive, more subtle. We have already seen the reasons. Then we take it straight from the Vyashti body mind sense complex to Samashti Buddhi, the latent Hiranyagarbha, which is the Samashti Sukshma Sharira Jnana Avachinna Chaitanya, that same Satchidananda in the form of the total Samashti, the total Buddhi. All knowledge includes what? My limited knowledge or not? Yes. When the limited is included in the limitless, the limited dies and all that is left is in limitless. That's why to get ready to study the Upanishads, every Upanishad will have Hiranyagarbha Upasana. Even Nachiketa does Hiranyagarbha Upasana through this Nachiketa Agni along with the Upasana. Hiranyagarbha Upasana is said to make one ready for this knowledge, because here we dwell on the attribute less Samashti Buddhi. Very, very beautiful, is very powerful. Then the Hiranyagarbha, there is something in relation to the Hiranyagarbha, there is something more pervasive, and then more subtle, and then more interior. What is that? Avyakta, Ishvara, and known to me as Anandamaya Kosha, known to me as Karana Sharira. And so that Karana Sharira, the Samashti Karana Sharira, the cause of all the Karana Sharira is what? Ishvara. When we talk of Ishvara, we are talking of goddess. So the goddess alone is the Samashti Karana Sharira. She is the truth of everything. She is Maya Shakti. And then the shadow side, the dark side of Maya Shakti is the cataract of ignorance. So all the astronomers flew to the dark side of the moon, that which is not visible from the earth, to see what all there is. And so that is how the dark side of Maya Shakti. So when Maya Shakti faces Ishvara, she makes him, literally makes this Satchidanandam Brahma into the all-powerful, all-pervasive, all-presiding Lord. When she faces the Jiva, what happens? Ignorance happens. But why? It is not fair. Technically, we will say Malina Sattva. So Maya is what? Made up of Malina Sattva. The Sattva that is vitiated by desires and all kinds of finitude and limitations. And whereas, what is the Maya that makes up Ishvara? Shuddha Sattva. This is the difference. Malina Sattva, Sattva all right, but that which is under the spell of Maya, under the spell of Avarana Shakti, the covering power of Maya. Why? Malina Sattva. Ragadvesha Anadi. Ajnanam Anadi. And the association between Ajnana and Jiva also what? Anadi. Beginningless. Amazing it is. Just beautiful. Beginningless means endless. Thank God. Otherwise, no need to attend the next class. So, therefore, this is the truth. And so, this is the beginningless ragadveshas, the beginningless ajnanam, associated with that beginningless ajnanam. What comes? That same Satchidanandam Brahma is called Jiva. In connection with that beginningless jnanam, this is called, the same Maya Shakti is called Ishvara. One has powers, one is empowered, one is powerless. This is the idea. So, yam jnatva, atmatvena jnatva, jantuhu, this creature becomes what? Non-separate from the Creator. Bhashya. Indriyebhyah param manah ityadi Arthanam iha Indriya samana Jatiyatvadi Jatiyatvat Indriya grahanena Eva grahanam. Yeah. So, Indriyebhyah param manaha ityadi. So, ityadi means in this mantra, starting with Indriyebhyah param manaha. Where is that mantra? Right here, above. So, here in this mantra, because the sense objects, arthanam, sense objects belong to the same species as the sense organs. Indriya samanat. So, Indriya samana jatiyatvat means they belong to the same order of reality as the sense organs. Yes or no? Didn't understand? Okay, see, like the sense objects, the object that I am looking at is what? Jada or Chetana? Jada. Indriyas are what? Jada or Chetana? Jada. And then, so so there is not much difference between the objects and the Indriyas. There is no difference, in fact. The only difference is that the Chaitanya Atma lights up the Buddhi, which lights up the mind, which lights up the Indriyas, which lights up the objects. That's the only difference. But other than that, in their makeup, both are Jada. So, Indriyebhyah param manaha ityadi, in this mantra, ityadi mantre, what is happening? Arthanam indriya samanatvat. Because the artha means what? The objects, sense objects. Arthanam indriya samanatvat, samana jatiyatvat, indriya grahanena eva grahanam. Because we may have forgotten the previous mantra. What was the previous mantra? Just like this. Indriyebhyah parahi arthaha. And this mantra, what is there? So you may think, okay, artha is skipped. One step is skipped. How come? This mantra should not be studied because one thing is missing. Upanishad, contradiction, alarm, ring, 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 ring. Why? Because there it was Indriyebhyah parahi arthaha. Here it is what? Indriyebhyah param manaha directly. So Adi Shankara supplies one sentence saying that since the mind, since the objects of the Indriyas and the Indriyas themselves belong to the same order of reality, please do the grahanam, please include. Grahanam here means include. So, arthanam grahanam, please include the word artha also. Where? In the word Indriya. Why? Because they are the same. Not only they are the same means what? They belong to the same order of reality. Not only that is the case, but even in the Bhagavad Gita, the same custom is followed. There is a Shastra pratha. There is a custom in the Shastra that is followed. So when you say sparshaha, it means what? Sprishyante iti sparshaha. So there, sparshaha means that sense organs and sense objects. Both it can mean. Contextually, we have to see. Like when in the end of the 5th chapter, Bhagavan Krishna says, Sparshan kritva bahir bhahyan. Bahihi bhahyan kritva. So, sparsha here is not indriyas. It means sense objects. Elsewhere, sparshaha means sense organs. And then in the same 5th chapter, 22nd verse or something, yehi samsparshajaha bhogaha. There sparshaha means sense organs. You see how the same sense organs and sense objects, there is a custom in the Shastra. It is, what is that? Interchangeably used. Here also, please use your brains, Adi Shankara says, and then remember all that you have studied. And just because one word artha is missing, don't go all ballistic on the Upanishad, then stop studying. Just say there is an internal contradiction. There is no contradiction at all. You are the contradiction. Okay? So shut up and continue to read the mantra. Adi Shankara says, not me. Okay? Yeah. So, so then why? Because Indriya Samana Jatiyatvat Arthanam, what happens then? In Indriya Grahanena Eva Arthagrahanam. So then Arthagrahanam is included in Indriya Grahanam. So when you say Indriya, when you take into account Indriyas, what should you say? Senses and sense objects. Like that you do that. And then Purvavat Anyat. Everything else is as above. As above. And show one finger emoji. Go up. Yeah. Scroll up. Go behind. And read all the things from before. And then he gives one more small note. Sattva Shabdat Buddhihi Iha Uchyate. So the intellect is the intellect is the referred to by the word sattva. Why? Why is it referred to the sattva? Because it's made up of the sattva aspects of the 5 elements. Okay? Yeah. Then further, next bhashya. Avyaktat tu paraha Purushaha Vyapakaha Vyapakasyapi Akashadehe Sarvasya Karanatvat. Yeah. So Avyaktat tu, whereas there is something better in the sense of subtler, more pervasive and more interior than the Avyakta, than Ishvara, because what is that? The truth of Ishvara and the truth of the Anandamaya Kosha is what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Truth of Anandamaya is Ananda. Maya is Vikara of Ananda. So it is Nirvikara Nirvishesha Ananda, which is the swarup of what? Jiva and Ishvara. Ishvara knows, Jiva doesn't know. Why? Because of this intervening Maya Shakti in the form of Atma ignorance. So, Vyapakaha. So, Vyapakaha means pervasive. How pervasive? All pervasive, because nothing, Purushatma Param Kinchit there, and here also there is nothing other than this Purusha. There Purusha Ishvara, here Purusha is what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So there is nothing beyond that. Na atyeti kaschana, we have seen in many places. Nothing transcends it. It transcends everything. It populates everything and enters, quote unquote, everything. Remaining as everything, it is completely transcendental, asanga, untouched by everything. This Purusha is Vyapakaha. Sarva Vyapakaha. All Vyapaka without any, what is that called? Without any residue. And so Vyapakasyapi Vyapakaha. So that which pervades, it is more pervasive than the most pervasive. What is the most pervasive? Akasha, space. Space is the most pervasive thing we know. That which pervades space is what? Satchidananda Atma. Why? Because Tesham Karanatvat. Because it is the Karana of Akasha, etc. Akasha is the Karana of everything, and so it is Sarva Karanatvat. Because it is the cause of everything. Cause not in the active sense of having a causality, cause as in the latent cause, because without the presence of Brahman, what is there? Nothing is there. Absolutely nothing is there. No thing is there, and then so because of that, it is the Sarvakaranam, Sarvakaranatvat. Alingaha Gamyate Yena Tat Lingam Buddhyadi Tad Avidyamanam Yasya Soyam Alingaha. Yeah. So Alingaha means what? Lingyate anena iti, that is called linga. What is linga? Lingyate anena. Lingyate is known. By what? By what? So, karane, vyutpatti here, karane prayoga, lingyate anena. That by which something is known is called linga. And alinga means lingaha na vidyate yasya, for which there is no linga. Linga means what? Attributes. By which something is known is called linga, attributes. And that which has no linga is called alinga. Okay, close the books. Why? Because alinga means it doesn't and it cannot be known, because everything I know has attributes. Atma has no attributes, therefore it cannot be known. That's not true. It can be known. Why? Because it happens to be self-evident I. Because it is self-evident, it is known. And so, vyapakaha alinga evacha. So, buddhyadi tad avidyamanam yasya. So, linga means buddhi. Like, how do you know that there is a human being? So, maybe I can see them. Okay, it is pitch dark, you don't see them. And then you hear them speak and you say, okay, it is a human being. If you hear them growl, you will mistake it for dog, lion, etc. But you actually hear them speak. So then, how can you speak? Because you have buddhi. So, buddhyadi lakshana, this kind of linga is not there for satyam jnanam anantam. Brahma has no linga. You keep saying no linga, and then what are you doing? You are saying recognize Brahman through Satyam, one linga. Jnanam, second linga. Third linga is what? Ananta. Then how can you say it is alinga? These are not lingas. What? I have been writing them down as the characteristics. Correct that. Yeah. Correct that. They are not characteristics of Brahman. They are not attributes of Brahman. They are not even that which is Brahman is known by. They are implied words designed to lead you to that self-evident I, which does not need to be pointed out because it is self-evident. It is just, so what does the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam together, what does this phrase do? It removes the ignorance centered on the I, which is taken to be Indriya and all these other nonsensical finite objects. It removes the ajnanam centered on this I. That is why it is alinga. So, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, they are just signposts. They just point there. There means don't look for Brahman there. I am just pointing somewhere randomly. They point there, and then what is that there? That is you. Oh, they are pointing to my hand. So, hand is Brahman. Hand is indeed Brahman. Brahman is not the hand. So, they are pointing to what? The innermost. Here is where that argument finds its culmination. The innermost, the pervasive most. That is the one. The superior most. That is the one that is being pointed to. That is you. Satchidanandam Brahma is you. That is the word Satyam Jnanam Anantam point to something that is already self-shining. So, the pramana vyapara is just to point out its nature, not its existence. No pramana is needed to tell you you exist. Why? Self-evident. I know I exist. I know I am. That is all it is. So, a self-evident I knows that it exists, so you don't need any other pramana to know that you exist. You know you exist. And so, but don't ask the next question. Who are you? Then what will happen? A long story will come out. A long story will come out. Nobody stops talking about themselves. Even Einstein, one would think such a great scientist, but he needed some friends to sounding board, to use as a sounding board. And so you would catch hold of them literally, because nobody could understand what he said. Because his mind was very superior to all of them. Especially, at least if he wrote down something, they would understand in their own time. But if he talked, they never understood anything. So he got into the habit, especially in the winter, in Germany and all, wherever he was, different places in Europe, it would be very cold. So people would wear double-breasted overcoats with big buttons. He would catch hold of the person by the button and start talking so that they would not leave. And then what happened? His friend one day got caught like this. He said, "Ayyo, what to do?" So thankfully he had a blade in his pocket. He cut off the button, went to work, did all his shopping, came back later in the evening. Standing in the same place was our dear Dr. Einstein holding the button. And he took the button from his hand and went also. He was still holding air. Okay, so this is how the person is. You can't stop talking. You can't stop doing this. This is the person who is full of all kinds of things to say about what? The I. What kinds of things? Finite things, wrong things. And so therefore, this Alinga Purusha has to be known as myself alone. Otherwise, I'll get stuck with characteristics of Brahman. Brahman is without characteristics. And then that is pointed out here. Sarva samsara dharma varjitaha iti etat. So Alingaha means that which is completely free of all the dharmas, attributes of samsara. All the attributes of samsara are not there at all. Not there at all. And then attributes of samsara are what? Sorrow, pain, all these things are not there, for which even characteristics of the world are not there. What to talk of? Characteristics of samsara. Yam jnatva acharyat shastratascha muchyate jantuhu avidyadi hridaya granthibihi jivaneva. So yam jnatva atmatvena jnatva, knowing this intimately as myself alone. How to know this intimately? Shankaracharya brings in Guru. Acharyataha. Acharyataha means acharyat. So fifth case. Panchamyas tasil. So this tasihi is the suffix. So tasihi becomes ta, and then acharyat. Acharyataha. Fifth case. It's an alternative to fifth case. So yam jnatva, knowing this from the acharya, shastrataha, shastratcha. And the acharya is not going to give their own opinion. What are the acharyas doing? Explaining the shastra. Shastrataha cha. Then knowing this through the pramana vyapara, out Guru mukhat, acharya mukhat, from the teacher, from the shastra, what happens? Jantuhu muchyate. This creature gets freed. Like a what is that? Cocoon. Like a moth escaping the silk cocoon. And then so like this, the creature gets freed. And then what else? Gets freed how? Avidyadi hridaya granthibihi. Gets freed jivan eva first. While alive, gets free. Gets free while living, not after death. And then avidyadi grantibhihi. Granthi is not in the heart. This avidya is a very naughty problem, pun intended. Extremely naughty. Knotty and naughty also. Very naughty problem this avidya is, atma ajnanam, because it leads to wrong conclusions about the I, because it leads to kama, desire, because it leads to karma. So avidya granthi, kama granthi, karma granthi bihi, muchyate sarva jantavaha. So muchyante. Then patite pi sharire amritatvancha gacchati. Saha alingah paraha avyaktat purushah iti purvena eva sambandhah. Yeah. So patite api sharire, while living the person is free. While living the person is free. While leaving the body also the person is free. So living and leaving, both. The person is free, amritatvancha gacchati, amarana dharmaha, that there is this Atma I am, and there is no death for this Atma. So saha alingaha paraha avyaktat iti purvenaiva sambandha. So he cautions us, yam gyatva. Yam means which yam? So this yam, the word yam is connected to the previous words, knowing which the person is free. Alingaha, avyaktaha, paraha, purushaha, all these words that yam is qualifying. That's all he says. Purveneva sambandha. So this purusha qualified as alingaha, paraha, and avyaktat paraha, all that we have to bring in here. And so we will end it here, and then we'll come back later. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.